Dear TGBL and the all-knowing Jim Cornette, as I write this, I'm smoking weed and listening to Joe Walsh's song, Life's Been Good. And it made me wonder if you know any good hotel destruction stories within the world of pro wrestling. He's right, Jim. I mean, you hear all these stories about Keith Moon or Keith Richards or Led Zeppelin destroying hotel rooms. Anyone in wrestling with that reputation?
Well, no, not anything to that extent, because for one thing, the boys all knew, they knew down deep some way they were going to have to pay for it. And you couldn't take a chainsaw and blah, blah, blah. And nobody was going to go to that elaborate length, I don't think, on something that they had to pay for. But obviously, guys used to get kicked out of hotels all the time in every territory over a period of time. They would go through hotels because the guys would get in a fight and somebody go through a wall accidentally, or somebody break furniture, or they'd have girls hanging around doing shit they shouldn't be doing, and as a result, they'd get kicked out or persona non grata, or somebody'd piss off a waitress in the hotel restaurant. Or to be quite honest, and every time I see him, I love him to this day, but the boogeyman was responsible here in Louisville for one of our extended stay hotels deciding not to work with OVW. The first time they took him on the road to the main roster, he left his room here, which he paid for by the month, right? Because he'd been training here for however long, and is at the Suburban Lodge, and he left his worms and whatever else that he had that was living, that he was feeding some stuff to some stuff. I don't know what the goddamn relation was of food to work to gimmick stuff, but there was a couple different, some insects involved. Point is, by the time he got off the tour a few weeks later, or however long it was, they had to fumigate the West Wing of the establishment. So then the wrestlers began staying at other locations. But but nobody was noted for being just a complete fuck up that would trash a hotel on a regular basis, or elsewise the promoters wouldn't let him stay at any of the fucking hotels that the boys dealt with. And I mean, when I went to work for Crockett in '85, we could still stay at a Sheraton at the Cleveland airport, for example, for $29 a night, because the wrestlers came in town at least once a month, in some places every couple of weeks, in these big cities like Chicago and et cetera, where they had multiple hotel choices. So somebody from the promotion or one of the boys would go in and sweet talk the general. I've done it a couple times. To get the wrestlers a rate. We say, where have they got a rate in, Des Moines or whatever? That was, so you know which hotel it was. And in some places, obviously, such as in Tulsa and several places in Mid-South Wrestling and in Memphis, it was separate hotels for the heels and the baby faces. In Memphis, now wait a minute, the baby faces were at the Admiral Bimbo Hotel, the Admiral, I believe, down on Union, whereas the heels were
there too, wearing masks.
Well, in a couple cases, and the heel there was a Days Inn on Summer Avenue for the heels, anyway. Tulsa got the baby faces, got the place closer to the building downtown, the Assembly Center, whereas we were out at the airport, so it was harder for the girls to drive out there. Anyway. And then somebody would always fuck it up by doing something stupid, but not necessarily on purpose, just because they were drunk or something happened.
It's not exactly throwing a TV out the window, but do you have any stories of Johnny Valentine in a hotel room?
Thankfully, no. Because I've never been in a hotel room, and I don't know if anybody's ever been in a hotel room with Johnny Valentine and lived to tell about it. I've heard
he used to unscrew everything that he could possibly unscrew, like parts of the bed, and I mean, tell me if I'm wrong from what you've heard, shove shit in there so that after he left, the whole room would smell like shit and no one could find it.
Well, and also when you said he liked to unscrew everything in the room, from what I've heard, he would screw everything in the room too, as well as unscrew it. And whether it was a welcome screwing or not.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm not. Oh, now I know you
You're
might
accusing
have
him of unwelcome screwing.
No, I'm talking about it, especially if he caught you in the shower in the locker room and you were one of the new guys. He might attempt to penetrate you just to see if you were one of the boys and shit, from what I've heard. It was not like he was raping people off the streets.
Wow.
He was raping people in the shower.
I had not heard that before, so that's...
just according to a story I heard, but who knows?
All right.
But I mean, it was all, I don't know whether it was a sexual thing or just all in the spirit of fun, but Johnny Valentine was a goddamn different, potentially harsh, and, what does JR say? Tougher than a $2 steak individual.
I don't know if that was in the spirit of fun either. I think it's a safe bet that it wasn't